Morning, everybody. It's Thursday, October 10th, and this is like our Friday. So as far as our calls are, this is our last Friday of the week. We meet Monday through Thursday here at 8 a.m. Central Time every Monday through Thursday. But Fridays, I think we're going to try to meet up 8 to 11, just kind of an open room in here. Get your listings done. Maybe you could have a goal to get your listings done for the weekend scheduled out so you don't have to work on weekends. That's pretty great when we do that. So there'll be people here in the 24-hour room in and out 8 to 11 tomorrow, like a coworker session. So I think that'd be kind of fun to start for Fridays. Anybody that can make it, maybe it's sometimes it's easier to meet goals when we're all together. So today I want to talk about our pain points in our business. It's something we have to continuously repeat and talk about, because if we don't, then how do we know how to fix them? We don't know how to fix them if we don't know what they are. I did post to the Facebook this morning the $60 brooch I bought last Friday. I went ahead and let it go for $435 this morning. Um, I was okay with that, I guess. So didn't need to be greedy. I was all right with it. So it's gonna go overseas, so that's always good. My shipping
This is
took
the
way too
brooch you
long.
paid $5 for?
Nope, I paid 60 for this one.
Okay.
It was a set, and I paid $60 for it, but I knew I'd get over three. Like when I bought it, I knew it was over 300. So it'll be okay. It was a good profit margin in less than a week. So but this morning I just took way too long shipping, so now I'm going to be I got my drafts done, but I don't have them out yet this morning because I had to fill out like 2 sets of customs forms and just had a lot of like 30 orders to go out this morning. So I guess it's an okay problem to have, but I didn't ship last night, so it was my fault. So what are our pain points? I just want to go over a few of the common ones I hear about all the time, and see if you guys can relate, see where we feel like we are in the process of our businesses, and what maybe we always avoid it. I always tell you guys, if you're avoiding something, it probably means it's something we really should be dealing with. If we're just constantly skirting around one part of our business, it probably means we're not confident in that part, and that's probably what we need to be learning about or working on. So some of the common ones I hear people talk about are inventory. The different niches are harder to find all the time, I find myself getting stuck in that trap where I'm like, it's hard to find good vintage jewelry. It's hard to find it at a reasonable price. However, it's out there. And if it's not out there, if you're truly not able to find good inventory, then we probably need to look at finding a different niche. I mean, if we just can't find the good stuff and we can't find the good inventory, then that's a point where we need to turn it around and really look at what we're doing. But where do we find it? Sometimes we can't find enough of it. Um, are we going the distance to find our inventory? Are you really driving as far out of our comfort zone is what we need to do? Are we advertising ourselves? Are we asking people if they have more of the good stuff? So it's just that constant struggle of finding the right stuff, the right price at the right time. Are we underbuying? So then we run out of inventory and then we are forced to pay up for things because we're totally out of inventory. That's as big of a problem as overbuying, if you ask me. If you get yourself in a pinch and then you feel pressure when you're trying to buy because you've ran out or you ran yourself short, and then now you're like, well, I have to find some inventory before I run out. And then we get pushed into a pricing issue that we don't want to have. Are we overbuying? And you all know how I feel about that. So do you know how much inventory you have on hand in a matter of days? If you don't, let's count it up. And then that gives us power over our business for inventory management. Are we buying stuff that isn't moving very fast? Some niches are slower than others. There's zero doubt about that. However, if you know that your niche has the potential to be a really good turnover, really fast turnover, let's be buying those fast sell-through rate items, because the longer we keep them, we're just paying to store our items. And I don't want to be a storage unit. And I don't think you guys do either. So that's a good thing to think about. Are we turning over our items fast enough? Are our items only flying out the door when we put markdown sales on? What does that mean? That means we were probably overpriced to begin with. So reevaluate your prices. All those inventory issues, those are pain points people have. Pricing, is it a constant struggle of where you're falling down the research hole every time we list things? If we are a niche seller, especially, we should not be having this issue unless you're new. Front load your knowledge. If it's a brooch that's never gonna be over 20 bucks or 30 bucks, I'm not gonna spend an hour of my time looking it up because it's never going to be worth more than what it really, than what it is. So I just list it, get it up, get our money, get out. If we put too much time into research after the purchase, I feel like we eat up our profits and time. So that's a common thing I see is just that the whole black hole people fall in with researching afterwards, or not researching enough ahead of time. The same thing. So if we know our product, we know our things, it just makes us make better decisions all the way around. Time management is another thing I hear about all the time. Like, well, I'm just not motivated. I just don't want to. I get asked, that's probably the number one thing people say is, how are you so motivated? I am not motivated. I rarely ever want to sit down and take pictures or lists. I do it because I have to do it. And I guess I'm disciplined in that way, not necessarily motivated. So if we wait for that motivation bug to get us, not sure that we'll ever meet our potential. So it's not really about motivation, it's about discipline, in my opinion. So are we disciplined enough to treat this like our business and get back out of it what we expect it to? So, and then schedules, people always say, well, I don't want to have a schedule because I have this job for flexibility. Well, it can be flexible. We still have to get our stuff done in the day. So if you find yourself giving yourself too much leeway, and then at the end of the day, you're constantly playing catch up or you're not doing it at all, well, then our schedule's not working. We don't get to have, we don't get to have that leeway if our stuff isn't ever complete, because then it just doesn't work. So I'll give myself a little bit of leeway, like on Fridays, if I decide to go sourcing, then I'll do my listings later in the day, but I always get them done. And if you are one that can't make yourself get them done, then you have to do it before you leave. And that's just discipline, like with anything else, with any other job you have. Cash flow, that seems to be a pain point for a lot of people. Constant struggle between, do I pay up for the really good stuff with the larger margin, but it might sit there, or do I just buy things that I know go in and out, bread and butter type items, and I can turn them over quickly. We have to find what works best for our business. My business model with that's not going to be the same as your business model, but we have to have a model there. If you don't have the model in place and you don't know what your business model is, then we're guessing. Businesses don't do great on guesswork. So, um, and it is kind of a process, right? I mean, it's not something we just know and we can set in stone and we're perfect forever. It changes, it waxes, it wanes. We have to kind of reevaluate that from time to time, but we do need to know it. So it ends up being kind of a point for people that they get stuck on, is that cash flow. Bookkeeping, that I harp on you guys about bookkeeping all the time, and I get all sorts of eye rolls about it every now and then. However, if you don't know where your money's at and you don't know where you're at, why are we doing this? Unless it's a hobby and this is like a fun thing that you just do, which then I kind of get it. We still need to do bookkeeping, but I kind of get it. You're just having fun with it. But if you're not, we have to know our numbers. We have to know where we are. And that's a huge pain point for a lot of people. And I think then sometimes it's like, well, a lot of us have been together a long time. And then now I'm afraid to ask because then I'd have to admit I haven't been doing it this whole time. Don't be afraid to ask. Like, it's nobody that's came to me with things that, like, yeah, they probably should have known, but then they come to me later, ever gets told I told you so, or what are you doing? I might say, what are you doing once in a while? I don't know. I'm kind of snarky like that. But or like, where have you been? Like, have you not listened to me for? But in all reality, I want you to come ask. I want you to say, you know what? I thought I had it under control. I don't have it under control. How do we get started? And that's brings me into the next one, is where do I even start? I think lots of times it's easy to get overwhelmed. We either get too much stuff, we get too much stuff on our plate just in life. Our schedules are just jam packed. We feel like we don't even know where to start, so we don't start at all. I get that a lot. And I always tell people the exact same thing. You're in luck because tomorrow you're a beginner. You get to just start into that pile just like you're new, just like you just walked into this, and you take a really manageable piece of that and you just get that done. And that's your goal that day. It's not the whole mess, it's not the whole thing. It's whatever manageable part you can section off and you can handle today. Because then you're going to walk away from that day out. You're going to be winning because we're going to get that part done. It's kind of overwhelming. I'm not one that likes to be heavy on inventory. I got that huge buy. And then I'm like, I got to get it all sorted through right now. Well, that's not realistic. So I've been making sure I do 5 days worth of inventory a day minimum. So I make sure I sort out 5 days worth of inventory a day out of that stuff, which is 25 pieces times 5. So I'm doing 125 pieces a day, just sorting it out. And yes, I still have a pile of it, but you know what? I'm making progress every day and I'm meeting that goal. That's all I could do right now. So I can't let myself get down and bogged down mentally because the rest of it's still there, because I'm succeeding in what I'm trying to do. Sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves. Like I have to get this whole garage resorted today. It's usually not realistic. And then we feel like we're losers. We feel like we can't do it. We feel like what's even the point? I can't get it all done. And we can't think about it like that with ourselves. You know, we deserve better than that from ourselves. We have to talk nicer to ourselves. Don't give excuses, because we have to end up where we're winning. We're not winning when we do nothing, but we have to take bites of that, right? Harry says discipline produces motivation, and I 100% agree with that. It does. Because once you get used to it, it's just part of my day. I don't love it. I don't really enjoy it, but I get it done and it's done. And then I feel motivated to keep doing it, because then you start seeing the fruits of your labor too. Start seeing money and sales, and that's all motivating. Larry says overwhelmed. Jot down pain points, consider priority, make progress on the highest 2 every day for a week. Absolutely. Yep, I do the same thing. So I'll make my brain dump list, I call it, write it all down, and then I pick my top 5 and say, okay, let's prioritize the top 5. And as long as I can knock out the top ones, I feel pretty good about it. And then at the end of the day, I always recheck it. And if I haven't knocked out the top 5 or at least top 3, I better have a really good reason, or else I gotta sit and finish it before I go to bed. The last one, I think sometimes we put ourselves in a box of what we're selling. And so I know that this is like a headbutt topic, but I feel like if we're everything sellers, it's really hard to scale. So if you're wanting to scale, we need to consider how we're going to scale. And I think that ends up blocking a lot of people up from their actual reselling potential. It's really hard to be an expert in everything. And if we're going to really scale a business, and if you're not wanting to scale, there's nothing wrong with it. It's totally fine if you're not wanting to scale. We don't have to scale to be successful. But if we want to scale, I think we need to figure out how we're going to niche enough to be able to scale, because it's really hard to reproduce the same results over and over and over when you're selling different things all the time. And when you scale, being able to reproduce the same results over and over and over is kind of the key to how that works. So those are kind of what I see, I guess, from the overview of when I'm getting to talk to you guys a lot and see what you guys are. My personal pain point is the profit margin, is that love-hate relationship between volume and profit margin, because the profit margins get smaller the more volume it's that constant struggle. So that's my pain point, is just trying to figure out that happy medium. I made 2 changes, which I'm not going to say, because then everybody will like, oh, I should go do that. And they'll go make those changes in their business. And like, mine's not the same as yours. Yours isn't the same as mine. Made 2 changes last week after last week's serious sellers call, because I'm like, I really want to have a better profit margin per item. I made those 2 changes, and this week was my highest net profit margin I've had to date. Not the highest sales, so to speak, but the highest net profit for a week. So, and to me, that's the important part, is, I want that money sitting in my pocket. So, and I would have told you guys a week isn't long enough to see the total results, and I don't think it is. And I won't change it. I'll let it ride out at least a month. But so far, it looks like it was a couple good decisions. So find those pain points and then say, I'm not going to sit there and complain about them. I'm going to go after it, fix it. I'm going to make, and you may not be able to fix it and see results today, but you can move in the right direction. Catherine said her pain point is probably everything you mentioned, but the for sure one that bothers her is the researching jewelry and figuring out how to price each piece. Do you find yourself going down rabbit holes, Catherine?
Yeah, like I'll look at a piece and I'll kind of have an idea in my head what I want to price it at. And then I'll Google image it, because what if it's worth less? What if it's worth more? And then I can't find the exact thing, because Google image and jewelry is horrible. It rarely brings up the exact thing for me. So then I'm like, okay, well, then I'll just type in some, keywords of what the piece looks like into eBay and see what comes up. And then I'm looking at average prices. And then that's like 10 minutes. And I'm like, I could have just had 2 or 3 other things listed by then.
So a little pushback because I know Catherine, so I could do
Yes,
this, and I know
you
her timeline
absolutely
on
can push
how
back on
she's
me.
been how she's been how long she's been doing this stuff. So we should have an idea of our price point on purchase, right?
Yes, we should. And I'm to that point now with my clothing where I'm just like, I know,
Mhm.
I don't have to look them up. I'm not there yet on my jewelry.
So if we're not there, then we shouldn't be buying things if we don't have a ballpark idea of what they're going to sell for, because otherwise you're going to end up upside down super easy. So not exact, but you should have a
Right.
ballpark. Not
And I
exact.
find that when you buy in bulk, a bulk lot of
Hmm.
jewelry, by the time it gets to you, then I'm like, what was I gonna price this at? Like it's so
Oh,
much
sure.
stuff to sort and
Hmm.
learn. And jewelry is a deep category. There's a lot. I'm
It
not
is.
trying to make excuses, but
No,
there's
it
a
is.
lot. Every piece is individual. You come across some, Avon and Sarah Coventry that you're just like, right away, that's Sarah Coventry, that's whatever. And you know how to price it. But, some of the unsigned pieces, um, I'm learning all the time, but it's
Mhm.
I
Oh
have to
yeah,
get
it's
better
an
at that.
ongoing, well, and also the hard part is if you get into the vintage, especially, is that there may not be another one like that ever anywhere. I mean, it may not, there's lots of one of a kind vintage pieces. And so you have to get better at, we get better at kind of similar, like we have to
Yep.
kind of just, and I've just learned to do price buckets. Price buckets have been my friend. Do I miss the high of the high sometimes? Probably. Do I m- do I get it fairly right most of the time? If I have an unsigned piece that's pretty but it's nothing spectacular, it's usually like 24.99. If
Yeah,
it's
you were
pretty,
saying yesterday, I
mhm,
think you were saying that you had a piece that somebody said, "Hey, that's a higher dollar piece than what you have it listed for." What was that?
yeah, I missed that it was a Juliana. It
Juliana.
it
That's
was
what
a
it was.
total flat brooch. I'd never seen a total flat Juliana before, and it never crossed my mind that that's what that was.
Yeah, and so that's what I worry about. So I research and research and research, and I just can't spend that much time on it.
Yeah, because if your time's worth $20 an hour and ends up being 20 bucks, you just ate up all your profit and time.
Right.
Now you didn't make
Oh,
anything.
that's a good point.
Yep.
I
So if
should
I'm
write
gonna
that
really
down.
dive into something price wise, I have to already know it's good, right? I don't, and it's very rare. Even that set I sold for $434, $35 today. I I probably spent more time on it than I have most things. It was like 10 minutes,
I will
maybe.
say that I'm researching a lot less when it comes to lower end items because I can tell now, like
Mhm.
this is lower end. It's there's no point in researching it, and I'm
Mhm.
saving my research for items that look unusual and or that I think might have more value.
Yep, and
But
that's good, and,
it's still
jewelry is hard anyway. I mean, I'll be the first to admit it's just a really long learning curve. I'm still seeing things every day that I don't know what they are. But
yeah.
I do learn the price buckets helped. Once you gain that confidence to be like, "Oh, that's 39.99 brooch," and, Lynn will make fun of me because 'cause she'll be like, "What do you think about that?" And I'll be like, 34.99. That one's a 34.99." I mean, because that's just what I do, and most of the time, I feel like it works out, it does work out. So if it's above my 39.99 bucket, I might look into it a little more. But other than that, I'm like 29.99. Oh, it's 34.99.
Yeah, and then I'll say, well, I was going to price it at 50. And she goes, well, then price it at 50.
It's subjective, right? I mean, vintage jewelry in general is pretty subjective. And especially with a nice brooch, when you're holding it in your hand and you see it and it's spectacular, you might get that vibe better than somebody looking at it in a picture, which also is a problem for us with our buyers, right? Because sometimes I have
Right.
one and I know it's amazing, but does it look amazing in the pictures? Not as much.
I
So
frequently get feedback that says it was even better than the pictures showed.
and
Like,
that is
"Oh, my
a
pictures
perk
suck."
of the jewelry, and there's lots of times I'll take pictures of something, I'm like, "This person's gonna be thrilled when they open it," because it's so much nicer than it looks. And that is a good perk, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. But
Sorry, Molly's really on a tear this morning. She's really, really
um,
snoring.
so Lynn was helping me yesterday. Lynn and who else was helping me?
Meg.
Meg, on this jewelry that I was bidding on. So there were 5 lots that I got, and so this morning I was, like, adding up, you know, what I paid for each lot of jewelry, including the premium that they charge, and it ended up being and then I went through each lot and looked at, like, what would I actually sell and what would I just immediately toss right
Mhm,
away, or what would I group together as one piece, and so I added up how many pieces I think I'll be selling, and again, this is without having it in my hand, looking at it.
sure.
But from what I added up of the 5 lots, it ends up being about $3.30 a piece, which is good.
Mhm.
So, we'll see what I get out of that.
Yep, good. What are other people's pain points? Where are we at in where's our stumbling blocks that we're hitting?
Uh,
Everybody's good.
okay,
Yeah.
uh, you had mentioned time management, and I'm the one who co-leads the balanced life call, and here I am, like, not doing what I usually do at 9 o'clock in the morning, which was, as you guys probably saw, washing dishes. But life happened yesterday. My one daughter's business got a bomb dropped in it, and I was helping her late last night, and so then I always do dishes at night. Well, I was either like do dishes or get sleep. I'm like, I'll do dishes in the morning. And so what I'm saying is life hits us sometimes. But here I am.
Mhm.
I'm in my little eBay world down here in the basement now. And so, you just kind of pick up the pieces and you keep trudging. Even if life throws you a curveball, which it will, you got to just like keep going. You can't let it get to you. So time management is highly important. And I preach that on my balanced life call with Dr. Marcia. But when it happens, it's okay. You just keep
Mhm.
going, it up. That's why I prefer routines over like a strict schedule. And Carrie, I know you do this too. You have your blocks of time during the day, and you're trying to get, like you were talking about, your shipping. You're trying to get all your shipping and listings done in this set time, but it doesn't always happen.
Nope.
And
I
that's
didn't get I didn't get my launch this morning because shipping took me forever this morning. And you know what? I'm not panicking about it. I'm not freaking out about it. But that
okay.
will be the next thing in my routine when I have time, will be to get those done. And then it just pushes things back a little bit. And it's okay. And it used to stress me out, and it doesn't stress me out anymore. It's like it just comes next.
Yep. Yep. I just to hit on
Yep.
that, kind of
Yep.
expand your on that a little bit more. And come to my balanced life call. I have to cancel it today because of this thing that happened in my daughter's business. I'm going to be over there in like 30 to 45 minutes helping her this morning. But yeah, so come to our call with any of your questions about stuff like that. Just a little, plug there. We love
Like,
talking.
was there literally a bomb?
Oh no. No,
I
no,
was
no, no,
thinking that too, like,
no. I'm
I'm
sorry.
like, "You're so calm for having a bomb dropped on your daughter's business."
No, 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 no. Uh,
Okay.
her landlord is informing her that he's jacking her rent up.
Oh.
Uh, in a panic, and she's like, what do I do? She just brought on her first full-time guy, and now she's having to pay $700 more a month, and it's almost doubling.
Oh my
a
gosh.
lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. So I have a friend who's available this morning at 10 o'clock to meet us at her office at my daughter's business.
I was ready to check the news to see about any bombs that were going off somewhere.
I'm a very visual person, so I tend to talk and like.
So am I saw the whole thing happen.
Anybody else want to share where their bump in the road is?
I'll share. I think mine is probably different than most people. I have an issue with parts. There's so many of my instruments. If I have the right part, I can take it from a $50 item to a $200 or $300 item. So I have to manage collecting parts, but not collecting too many parts and keeping them in order. And so like right now, I've been going through, I buy glockenspiel sets, which is bell sets with a drum that every new percussion student has. And I love them on one hand because there's no fixing. I just put things together, but I have probably 6 of them right now and none of the pieces fit together. So I'm kind of, I'm gonna, I'm gonna try to stop, only buy like 2 brands from now on so they all fit. And I'm trying to figure out what do I want to throw away, what do I want to keep, and it's just it's kind of a little bit of a mess, but I'm slowly working through that. And cases, I mentioned I threw away a bunch of cases. It's the same way with cases because a lot of them could get a great instrument, but the case is all junk, and putting those together can be a pain. And if I don't watch it, it becomes a death pile.
Yep. So Harry identified where his bottleneck was so that he could fix it and figure out is it worth it to him to do that? Is it worth it to him to narrow this down so that he doesn't end up with a big bunch of stuff laying around and he's able to increase the value of his product? So that's what we have to do. That's what I had to do with the profit margin. I didn't like the way it was going for the weeks, so I have to figure out, okay, what can I do to try to change that in the right direction? And then you just sit and have to watch, see if it works and not be afraid to pivot again. Just don't pull the trigger too quickly is what I would say to people. I think people make a change, don't see immediate results, they go back. And it just is like a constant back and forth, and you will not move forward if we keep doing that. Anybody else? And then we're going to go to Larry because I know Larry's got something good for us. Anybody? All right, Larry, I want to hear it.
Okay, so we had a session, I think it was yesterday, and the day before yesterday, where you were talking about we really need to know our where we are with our days of inventory on hand. And it kind of kicked me in the butt. And it's like, okay, I need to reevaluate here because I haven't done it in about 6 months of just what's working, what's not working. And this morning, it took me about 10 minutes. I did a quick little what's working, what's not working, and I'll share it. And I don't want to dive in deep. I haven't completely thought through, all my resolutions and answers here, but I'll start with what's working. At least, again, this is me, this is my business and the way I'm operating. Got a storage unit here, 4 months ago. This is definitely working. Not having all that inventory, having the extra space. Sourcing is getting better. I had a really strong outlay of effort to build my relationships with the thrift shops and the estate sale companies. And I'm also trying to buy less junk, but it's a bittersweet with the buying less junk because I'm an everything seller. So a lot of times I'll just throw it in the pile, not necessarily knowing what it is. And 1 out of 10 is going to be a banger. And the rest I got to just either throw away or put up for $15 or whatever. But so buying less junk is working for me. I am a little concerned about the upcoming winter, but anyway, I'm very close to my financial goal for the year. So I'm doing something right there. I don't know, but the other thing that's working is Cheryl's spreadsheet. You always keep plugging it, Carrie, but I came into this as a software guy. I know Excel fairly well, and I was planning on doing this because I had one for my other business, but once I saw it and saw what she was charging for it, it was a no-brainer. So I'm using that. So what's not working for me, and here's where I need to kind of spend some time to think through some of this stuff. My incoming receiving is a mess right now. In some of those older pictures from 9 months ago or whatever, I showed a picture of a hallway leading out to my cars. That is a total mess right now, and it's just filled with crap on the floor, both left and right is mess. I need to just go in and empty it all out into the driveway and then put it back in a more structured way. I've got inconsistent processes, and I know this is because I'm an everything seller, but and I'm doing this to myself, I know, but I've got different processes. They're very inconsistent. If I'm dealing with a fishing reel, it goes in a particular kind of box, and I know exactly where it is, and I stage them up. But when I get a typewriter or when I get a box of plumbing supplies, I don't really have a consistent way to deal with them. So I'm inconsistent in the way that I'm both storing this stuff as well as processing it. So I need to think through these different things as far as that goes. Ideally, I would do this niche down step, which I'll talk about here in a second, but I need a better way to manage my death pile. And because I'm acquiring stuff I make these piles, and 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 are losers. I need a more consistent process for dealing with those losers. And the way I'm going to do that is just dedicate a donate bin, fill it early and fill it often is kind of where I went with that, and buy less junk. But again, it's a weird, bittersweet situation there, because I don't know, man. I've picked up stuff that I thought was junk, and it's $100 item, and I got 16 of them. It's like, damn. Oh man. Well, let's go back there and see if there's some more. But anyway, another one that my dad taught me this, but I'm getting away from it really bad. Don't put it down, put it away, because I'll get returns, and I opened it up. It's like, yeah, okay, it's here. Where do I put it? I set it down somewhere, but it's not consistent. I don't have a returns space that to re-enter into my flow. So I need to think through the whole returns thing, and where I handle my in-process work. I've got golf clubs that are waiting for grips that are in 2 different places in my house. It's like, that's not good. They should be in one, and they should be out away from my wife, and whatever. So don't put it down, put it away. It's something I got to work on. And every one of these I need to think through a little more closely, but need to niche down. And I know this. I know I need to niche down, but given me and my personality, I'm not going to be a single seller for any one thing. But what I do need to do is limit this to, I don't know, 5 different things I can specialize on or whatever. And so I was just kind of internalizing what do I do well, or where have I really scored money? And what things can I find readily? Those are the 2 big factors I run into. Is it profitable, and can I find it? And I've done well with golf clubs. I've done well with boots. I always seem to do really well with the weird esoteric lab equipment, and just hand tools, micrometers and weird measurement stuff. So I need to reevaluate this too. But I'd love to do jewelry just because it's lightweight, it's easy to store, but it has a very steep learning curve. And so it's like, where do I fit this in the course of my day of all this other stuff I got going on? I don't know, but that's something I'm considering. This one's big right now for me. And this is a source of tension with my wife and I, is I'm always thinking about eBay. We're driving somewhere, she'll be driving, I'm looking up, I'm making an offer, I'm researching, I'm doing whatever. We go out somewhere, I'll grab something that I want to research and I'll put it on the floorboard, and I'm researching it while I'm waiting for her to go shopping for a blouse. It's like I'm not present all the time.
Were you
because
like
I'm
that with your job?
Yes. Yeah, this is a lifelong thing. This isn't
And me
something
too.
I'm
Like,
gonna,
I don't know how to relax. Like, I mean, like to
right.
me, that's so foreign. Like, that would feel terrible to me.
Yeah. Yeah, after an hour and a half of watching TV last night, it's 10:45. I'm like, I'll be back in a few minutes, and I'm out in the garage, photographing 3 things for this morning. And it's 11 o'clock at night. What am I doing? Come on, man. Anyway, and then another easy one here is I just got to work through the morning routine for shipping, because right now I've built myself into a corner where at 3 o'clock I'm going to the storage locker, but I got till 5 to get it shipped, or to the post office, and that's not a good way to. I don't want to live with that kind of crunch. So this one's gonna be easy to fix. But anyway, so that's my working, non-working, and like I said, I do this I don't know, every 6 months or so. And
Larry, regarding that, having eBay on your mind all the time, I had to tell my husband the other day, because he and I used to run a business together, and we were putting in 14, 16-hour days regularly with 2 little kids. And he made some comment the other day, I don't know what it was, and I said, honey, this is not an 8 to 5 job. This is retail. And so people shop 24/7. And I get questions and offers 24/7. So this can't be just a regular 8 to 5
what happens if you treat it
job.
like an
And
8 to 5?
as long as I love what I'm doing,
Right.
You know, I'm the one that needs to love the job that I have. You don't
The
have to love
question
it.
a lot of times I've made that assumption that this thing will collapse if I don't give it 14-hour days. But the few times when I've really questioned some of these basic premises that I built my life around, I've kicked myself for buying into it.
Right, and I was gonna say, but you have to still find a balance. We had to find a
Right.
balance with our other job of home and work.
Yeah.
And it's hard when your home becomes your workspace.
Right.
But you have to be able to separate it just like you separate your home office. You have to shut the door and say, "Now I'm at home and I'm with my wife or husband or whatever, and I have to dedicate some time for them."
Yeah.
And she will appreciate you if you come to her and say, "This is our time together. It's nothing else gets to interfere with it."
Larry, I've
Yeah.
had I wanted to, if that's okay, please, to share with Larry. I think we've got some parallels. I'd almost like to work with you a little bit on some of this stuff because twofold here. One, like with your sheet there, I think you're kind of talking about a process. Like, what's the process? You know, what's working, and what's the process as to why it's working, and then the stuff that's not working. Well, what's the process currently? You know, why is it the process? How do I tailor it to not be the process because it's a process that's not working?
Right.
You know what I mean? So is there a process that I can rejigger and tailor to make it working? I know for me as a man, for what it's worth, it's like I feel sometimes like I'm cheating life. And it's like I should be working, I should be producing. I don't know, it's this really deep innate feeling. It's like it's like this nagging. It's like I can't enjoy time with the kids. I can't enjoy time with Gina. I can't enjoy, you know, time on hobbies. I can't even break free for other things that the household might need, errands, groceries, paying the bills, something. It's like, because I feel like I got to be on eBay and doing this eBay stuff, and it becomes just a massive anchor.
Are you
So
producing that level? So I mean that's another flip side. So it sounds like you're giving it your all and you're, you know, constantly involved in it. Right? Is the end production and the end money reflect that?
um
So is it focused energy? You know, I
it
think that's another thing too, is
Yeah.
if it like Tech had focused energy. Like he was super focused. He may have been working all the time, but look at his millionaire's results, you know. So
yeah,
it's when
right.
we're really focused and we don't get the result that I think is the problem.
And no, that's, I like the point, and I'd like to answer it and still piggyback on this with Larry. I'm not so sure if it's focused energy, but I
Right.
think I think it's a couple fold here. It's like it's like quicksand, you know, like if something happens, you know, like Becky referenced, you know, you get derailed on the day or something's going on in your life, but then it's like you feel guilt, you feel shame, you feel, so you try to put in energy, but it's more like this frantic energy. It's not centralized. It's not process oriented. It's
Right.
not well thought through. It's sporadic hyper bursts, and it's therefore it's not, it misses the mark, you know. And then it's reflective on almost like a negative synergy built. So I don't have this dialed in yet, but in even this past week, and I've been working on getting up at 7, which I'm not a morning person. I was up at 7 this morning. I know I made the call a few minutes late here, but I was outside trying to shift some things with our trailer and for storage, and so it's certainly eBay related. But anyhow, it's like, can I implement some things that has a structure or at least a guide, you know, so I can have the proper energy, and will that help me hit my goals? And then if I hit my goals, can I not feel that guilt and that I don't know what you call it. It's almost like this force that's like, I've got to be doing this. I've got to be on
Right.
eBay. I would like to be able to shut it off. I'd like to be able to say, you know what, closing the lid on the computer. I'm accomplished today. I'm gonna go enjoy, you know, the evening, the kids, have a family dinner, and it feels so damn elusive over and over again. way more than not.
When I do get those, it definitely feels good. I mean, I had a great, from like 4 o'clock on yesterday was excellent because I was done and I deliberately shut the lid, so to speak. But yeah, I can definitely relate to you as far as having that internal pressure to need to keep going. And I don't know.
I think maybe it's different too, depending on what stage of life you're in. So like,
Yeah.
nobody here necessarily depends on me, like Roddy's really independent and like, what am I gonna do? Like quit cleaning jewelry so I can watch Criminal Minds? I mean, like who cares if I'm working? Because he's, if he doesn't get very much downtime because he works away from home. So when he is home, he's like a zone out kind of guy. He wants to just watch TV for an hour before he goes to bed. And I don't care. That's fine with me. And so I'm just working all the time. But if I was working all the time and not making any money or not making enough money, then that would stress me out.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I've always just been one that wants to be doing something all the time, so it doesn't really bother me. But if you have small kids, I can see how that kind of probably is a little bit harder. But there's really nothing for me to, as long as Molly's sitting here storing away and she's happy, like that's the only thing that really depends on me during the day. So, I think it just depends. But yeah, we just have to make sure that I've seen people that are constantly in that rat race and constant, but they're not actually generating for the amount of effort they're putting in. They're not getting the money out. And so we need to just make sure if you are doing that, that you are making the kind of money you deserve for the money, for the time you're putting in. Because that's really important. I mean, if we're going to be workaholics, we might as well have money, right? I mean, it's
So
part of the
can
deal.
you comment, tell me a little bit more about this focused energy. Do you have, is there something you're doing to have more focused energy, or is it a byproduct of just having less distractions?
Oh, I have lots of distractions. But discipline. It's just I'm sitting down and I'm getting this done. And I don't allow myself to do anything else that I want to do, or unless it's an emergency, until it's done. It's not almost done, it's done. So when I sit down in the morning, I go do my shipping first thing. I don't sit anywhere. I don't do anything in the morning before my shipping is done, or else I'll get sidetracked and then I'll be behind and then I'll be stressed out about it. So my shipping and my 25 drafts have to be done before this morning call. And I don't let myself get, unless something really bad would happen, I don't have any negotiable on that. So I just do it. I just get done and I know that's horrible. That's not a very good coaching in me, but I sit down, I just get it done. And I think that does make me frustrating to some people. I'm like, I sit down and I don't dick around my phone. I don't, sit there and chitter chat with people. I don't have this room on. I just am getting my work done. And then by 8 a.m. I have my 25 drafts done and I have my shipping complete. And if I don't do that, it feels wrong now because I'm just so used to doing it. But I just don't allow myself to get sidetracked. I don't sit there and mess around on YouTube to see what I want to watch, or just sit and do it. And being prepared the day before is huge. Like it's foreign to me to not, it would be really awful for me to try to pick inventory out as I was going and then cleaning it and then counting it. Like I always have the day before, I always have my set out prepped inventory for the next day. Because then I can just, that's processed. So no if I cleaned and tried to do it all at the same time and tried to pick it out, like that'd be a mess to me. Like I'd be really inefficient. So I always have my 25 items clean and ready for the next day. And then it's just part of the process. I think it makes it go a lot faster.
It's easier said than done, but I think having good processes helps keep the energy focused. Because once you're within a given process, you can go from the beginning through to the end, and the results are consistent and known, and you stress over it less.
And if you give yourself ultimatums, like I do not move forward with doing anything I want to do for the day until those drafts are done. I just don't. And if I would start slipping on that, start making excuses for myself, well, I'm really tired today, or I got a lot to do today, and I started being wishy-washy with myself, then I wouldn't be able to get it all done by 8. And maybe it doesn't mean you have to do yours first thing in the morning either. Just whatever time period is that time period in your day. And because otherwise I won't be able to produce the results either. So I don't want to have the repercussions of not getting my crap done either. And as long as I have those drafts done, which means my items are photoed, my listing is started and it's saved in my phone. As long as I have that, I have no problem sitting down and doing listings, even if I have to do it throughout the day. They always get done. It doesn't feel like stressful to me to get the rest of them. I try to have them done before this call, but it doesn't always happen. I usually have part of them done by this call, and I have the inventory put away too. I don't want to come back to a mess. I don't want to come back to stuff all over. Like that messes with your flow too. If you're like, oh, I've got this mess out from taking pictures. So yeah, processes are super important. I agree with that. And be prepared for the next day. Preparing yourself for the next day makes the next day so much easier. And I'm totally a subscriber to the do things today that makes tomorrow easier. And I always have that inventory ready, sitting out. It's like sitting out clothes for the next day. I always have my 25 items ready to go. Because I'm tired too in the mornings. I
you think
sleep
it's
a lot less than most people.
this is just off the cuff, so I won't hold you to the answer, but do you think, and Larry, I want you to hear this too, well, and everybody, honestly, like I've been playing with trying to shut it off, whatever, if it's 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock, somewhere around there, right? Do some family time, feel accomplished, and then revisit eBay for about an hour. Sam goes to bed at 9, so this is a soft time frame, but about 9 to 10. And I'd like to consider implementing 2 things, one of which you said. One is to be prepared for the next day. So pulling items. I don't like getting up and going, well, what the hell am I going to do today? I don't know. I don't like that. I want to have my 20 set out on my prep table so I can just, get up and get doing. And the second thing was to address what Larry referenced is this mad, balderdash to try to get shipping done, before cutoff time. It's like the post office is going to close. I got to get hustling here. Oh my gosh. So maybe try to get, some shipping done within that time as well. Maybe the ones that are due to be sent out the next day. So what do you think of something like that? Can you finish in the day, but then maybe revisit for a small prep time as part of your process?
Can you get it all done or push it? I think it's harder for us to restart, right? It's harder to restart than it is to just finish. So maybe I would prefer to pick a cutoff time that allows me to get that all done in that time.
And
You could ship.
Jason, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I found that when I started with shipping, it freed up my mind so much. I felt like I had so much more time to get everything else done, the listing and the pictures and the cleaning and the whatever, once I got my shipping done. But when I saved my shipping until the afternoon, like I'm getting close to post office time, I don't know if it probably doesn't make any sense, but I felt like I almost wasted more time during the day. And I got more done when I shipped first. That was my first task. And then everything else comes
Because
after
it
that.
weighs on you throughout the day. Because it's
Yeah.
always
Because it
in your
weighs
mind.
on you. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
I do
that's-
mine
okay.
right when I wake up.
That's the biggie. In my case, what I've been doing is I have to go to my storage unit, to get the inventory. And so it's like, well, do I go now or do I wait? I really don't need this till 3. Well, I might sell something now. And no, what I really need to do is like at 6:30 in the morning when the gates are open, I should be there and pull the stuff from yesterday and not worry about the stuff that sold at 10, 11, noon, whatever. Get the stuff from last night that absolutely is the only real time crunch that we truly have, right? Getting your shipping out on time trumps getting your listings goal for the day, right? Or at least as far as a monkey on your back. But anyway, so that's a big change I'm gonna implement starting tomorrow.
I feel better in the morning if I ship all the way up until bedtime, or all the way up till like 7 or 8, and then I have that already done for the next day. Because then, if I have another 15 come in overnight, it's okay. It's not as stressful for me. Today I should have done that last night. I didn't do it last night, and then this morning I felt the pain of doing 29 this morning. So and then of course there was like customs forms involved, and I was like, ah. And then inevitably, if we put things off like that, that's when your printer's going to break. That's when something's going to happen. You can't find the right packaging. I also, every Sunday of the week, I restock all my shipping supplies, and I empty the garbage in my area. to set myself up for success for the week, because I don't want to mess with that stuff during the week. I'm busy during the week. Monday through Thursdays for me are insane. So I don't want to deal with that stuff. So I fill the paper in my printer. I empty the garbage where I ship. I fill all my envelopes. I fill all my boxes. Everything's ready. And then, yeah, can I run out during the week? Sure. But at least it gives me a good start. And, can you prep your stuff the day before, Jason? I mean, where it's just you're ready to list those 20 items. It's all ready to go for you, sitting on the table, cleaned, prepped. All you need to do is photo and list.
I don't
Jason-
know. Yeah, and I don't know yet. The way I look at this, I'm incredibly process driven, but to Larry's credit, like I want to think it through. Is this the best process? And sometimes the other things that we do is we solve a problem and then create another, right? So you fix one thing, but it's not fully dialed in. It's like you got something else going on. So I'm playing around with it. I like the idea of up in the morning at 7. I like it because I think you can get more done in those first 2 hours prior to our meetings than you very well may get the rest of the day because of distractions and other commitments. So I'm loosely playing around with having that as I'm not checking email, I'm not, doing anything else, I'm just listing. And then maybe, the meeting and either during or after the meeting, then maybe that's a block of time for any shipping commitments. Larry's correct, is like, that's what drives the business. You can not list and like, you're not like in any trouble. Like, you may not have algorithm favoritism, but you if you don't ship, you're in deep water. So that has to be prioritized probably if you rank order things over listing. So maybe that's the second block of time. I like working in units of time, and that's how I see this in a real job, right? They say you get a lunch and 2 breaks. So if you look at an 8-hour day, you work about 2 hours and then you take a breather, and then you've got another 2 hours and then you take another breather, which is your lunch, and then another 2 hours and then breather, and then another 2 hours and you're done for the day. So from 7 to 9, that's the first 2 hours. And I'm not saying this is set in stone. I'm playing around with it almost in real time here, but maybe that's the first 2 hours, and you know what I mean? And that's the listing. And then you get a little bit of a breather, which is maybe our meetings. For me, I'm on the East Coast, that's 9 o'clock for me. And then maybe the next block of time is any shippings, if and where applicable, and or listings. And then for me, then it's around to lunchtime, taking out Grayson, taking out the little dog, taking just taking a step away, sharpening the saw is what it's called. And then you've got another block and you do that. And then maybe then the last block goes in the prep for the next day, wrap up essentially. So these are processes that might be optimal, might not. I don't know yet. I like
my
talking.
one breather I take, besides if Molly has to go outside, is that's when I schedule my shower. Right in the middle of the day, that's my breather. As I take my shower after I'm done doing whatever we gotta do outside or whatever. And that's it. But I don't necessarily recommend it either. I'm not saying that's a great way. But it doesn't, I just don't know. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Just like, what am I gonna do? Just stay here? And I don't know. I'm not good at relaxing. It's not really my forte. Not good at it. I don't necessarily feel like I want to get good at it either, but everybody needs different things like that. Everybody's different. Nobody should try to fit in another person's mold, so.
I think that that also plays to Jason and my habit of spending an hour or two late at night after the family's away, or your wife's watching her favorite show or whatever it is, to put in that extra hour or so to prep for the following day. I think a piece of me would love to be done at 2 in the afternoon and just turn it off. But I know my personality and the way my brain works. I'd be scratching for something else. It might be a hobby, it
Yeah,
might
me
be
too.
something else, but I'd be doing something.
Yeah, it's not good for my personality like that. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here because I gotta go onward here. I appreciate you. Anybody that wants to join us, it's Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. Central Time. And we meet right here in this room. There is a link now in the Facebook group of Reseller Revenue that will take you right to this call. It's under the featured posts or pin post. If you need help finding that, just reach out and we will help you.